Gokran here. Why, you might ask? Well, the 2.6 livestream yesterday revealed our next reruns, and Acheron is coming back right before some insanely hype units. Also, Hoyo can squeeze your wallets before 3.0, and you better believe 3.x is going to be spicy too, just like Penacony. So it's that time of the patch where I'll be going through every unit, discussing their pull value for players. Like and subscribe if you're hyped for 2.6, and let's begin. Let's start with Rappa. I mean, poor girl is facing off versus the hype of Sunday and Fugue. She's in for a rough time, but let's still see what she could offer and why you'd want to pull for her. Note that these are absolute early impressions and her kit isn't even fully out yet, so if you want a better take on her pull value, my guide will have that. So Rappa is another break-oriented DPS. Instead of having a 1 to 3 target focus like Firefly, Rappa is an erudition and will instead excel in AoE fights, so 3 to 5 targets. But based on the livestream, she has no weakness implant, not even on single target, which means she is our first modern break unit to not have one. Boot Hill can do so on ults, Firefly on her enhanced skill. And an imaginary implant would have really been nice, as it would have allowed Harmony MC to shred a single target enemy, while she could have focused on all things AoE. Instead, Rappa's power is that she can deal toughness damage to enemies no matter the element on her enhanced basics, which by the way, they look super cool. These first-person perspective attacks are pretty awesome. No implant means she will have a pretty rough time breaking toughness outside of 3 to 5 targets, especially into non-imaginary weak, because the toughness values will be reduced even if she ignores weakness. Furthermore, her ult doesn't attack, which makes most of her toughness reduction piled into those enhanced basic attacks, so those solo bosses will be a pain to deal with. That is why we have units like Boot Hill, but it's still important to note. Anyways, what this all means is she might be locked into mostly pure fiction. But since she can ignore toughness irrespective of the enemy weakness, those enhanced basics will absolutely shred in pure fiction due to the lower toughness pools. This hopefully means she is able to carry any pure fiction stage, even if it is not imaginary weak. Of course, still wait for showcases to see if this is true, but it would mean an omni-element PF carry, which is a really nice pro in her favor. For Apocalyptic Shadow, we have the current Fantilia boss that she should do fantastic against, and when Sunday has his turn as a weekly boss in AS, she should also slap him silly. Versus non-imaginary weak though, I don't think she will have the same potential in AS as she can have in PF, because the resistances enemies can have go up to 40 to 60%. Finally, in MOC we have the 3-target Past, Present and Eternal show boss that I think she can do great in. It's designed for her team, and we also have the big TV enemies that are releasing specifically designed for her. So she can do great versus them, but I worry for her outside of that and other similarly designed enemies. For teams, I think she will be locked into the classic Super Break core, but in pure fiction you can do all sorts of combos, so I can expect to see some variations like with Himiko. For Lightcone, no info was revealed, so check out my guide coming soon for all things teams, Lightcones and builds. Now, is she worth picking up then? For pure fiction, she should be top tier. You need to carry there, well perfect. And in Apocalyptic Shadow, she will have some use in some rotations. Her full kit isn't revealed, so these are just early impressions. So if you are still indecisive on her, be sure to check out showcases and guides coming soon to see how she performs, though it will be in a break blessing matchup. Running alongside Rappa is her imaginary DPS pal, Danheng imbibed to Lune. Back in 1.3 he blew up DPS charts and he still has high raw power at the cost of lots of skill points. Whilst he isn't the top tier powerhouse he was back then, his kit hasn't changed and therefore he is still a reliable DPS and pretty fun. He works in Memory of Chaos very well and also in Apocalyptic Shadow, so we have 2 game modes you can expect to get good use out of him in. At E0 though, you would rather use your free Doctor ratio if you care for clear speeds, as he comes out ahead most of the time. You either center your team around helping Lune with SP, or you center your team around helping Ratio with debuff consistency. Though we are seeing hints of a renaissance for hypercarry units, so Lune could come out of nowhere looking like a fresh new man. But I can't make any promises, and other hypercarries will come out anyways that should generally outperform him. As for E2 Lune, he is a beast with his turn spamming, but becomes even SP hungrier. I think E2 Lune is still a pretty competitive DPS because of how strong the extra turn mechanic is. All game modes are centered around low clear speeds and taking extra turns just ignores part of that problem. Though I will say that E2s on flagship favorite DPS like Acheron, Beishao, Firefly are also OP, so you could save those pulls for a future DPS and they're OP E2. I think unfortunately at E0 he's just power crept in DPS ceiling, but I see potential for him nonetheless. Maybe it's my cope, but he has some very high multipliers. So at E0 and then at E2 as well, he could gain relevance if Hypercarry gets shielded as much as Follow-Up and Break have been in 2.x. Again, if you don't want to pull based on potential, then don't worry, because we have another DPS up ahead. If you want him and you're thinking about team options, I have some for you. Dan Heng can run a free-to-play friendly team of Tingyun and Pella with a high SP positivity sustain. For a premium team, you can run him with Sparkle and a choice of second Harmony. Tingyun, Robin and Raw Mei will work fine, with aura buffs like Robin and Raw Mei being excellent for E2 Lune, as he will cycle through turn-based buffs very quickly. Since we know his light cone, I can also say that his signature is not groundbreaking, and you can do just fine with On the Fall of the Neon if you have it spare. I wouldn't be surprised if a future Destruction carry also brings a better light cone for him in the future. So in the first half of 2.6, you have two imaginary DPS options: a Break Gamer geared for AoE, or a Classic Crit Gamer geared for 3 targets. Pick your poison, and pick depending on your needs. But Guoba, what's better than 2 main DPS? Well, that's obvious. 3 main DPS in one single patch. If you ever struggled with DPS checks in content, 2.6 should be your safe haven. And so, making her way back after getting lost for 5 whole patches is Acheron, one of our strongest carries right now. If you're indecisive and don't care specifically for any DPS this patch, lore or design-wise, then at least you can be safe in picking Acheron for meta value. Acheron is one of our top crit DPS right now, but unlike Dan Heng, she's all about nihility units, so they work in different teams. This is good if you have a traditional Harmony setup, as you can keep them on one side and let Acheron hog all of the debuffer units, easing up your roster's restrictiveness. So she'll want debuffs applied to the enemies and she will want it frequently. That is the source of her ultimate generation, and most of her power budget is in that ultimate. Now, despite not being a brand new DPS, Acheron still has some extra future-proofing value because of the way her kit functions and its potential to have multiple synergies with units. So I recommend her more over Dan if you need a DPS, not only because she just performs better statistically, but also because she has less chances of being power crept and more chances of becoming more relevant. This is just my take on her kit and how it works. What I mean by this is Acheron synergizes with Hypercarry Harmonies, and she synergizes with Nihility debuffers. This is true for any Hypercarry. But future Nihility units having high debuff frequency or Harmony units with team advance forward will boost her damage like another DPS on top of directly producing more Acheron ultimates. Not only is she benefiting from their base kit, she benefits a little extra on top. It's that extra synergy that makes me think she is more future-proof than other DPS. Beishao works in a similar way with high-frequency attacking allies. Now, if Acheron is your pick for 2.6, let's check out her teams. She can run a fine free-to-play friendly team with Guoba and Pella. Both provide ample debuffs on most of their kit, and both are 4 stars. You can even run a 4-star sustain with Gallagher, who provides tons of SP and some debuffs here and there. For a premium team, you can upgrade your Guoba to a Silver Wolf or a Jiao Cho. You can even go Robin Jiao Cho, as his powerful debuff frequency, paired with Robin, allows E0 S1 Acheron to get plenty of ultimates. She can therefore abuse both of their damage jumping power, whilst not missing out on ults. This team works even better at E2 Acheron, and you also have Sparkle with 1 Nihility teams that become available if you prefer the comfort of a Sparkle and her skill point generation. Now, one thing that might persuade you against Acheron is her need for a good light cone. Her signature is far stronger than other options, especially free-to-play friendly options, due to its extra debuffs on top of powerful buffs, and she feels kinda sad sometimes without it. But yeah, Acheron can pop off into Memory of Chaos and Apocalyptic Shadow. In Pure Fiction, she struggles with her cheaper teams, but with Doc Ron or Jiao Cho, she can pop off in Pure Fiction too. She is a multi-mode threat that should scale decently going forward, and just like Lune, you have an incredible upgrade to her power in her E2, so investing more into her won't go wasted. Now, if a top DPS wasn't enough, a top fan favorite sustain is back too. That's right, Aventurine is back, baby. This, with the 2.7 characters into the 3.0 patch, is really gonna hurt. I mean, everyone saw this potential hurter reveal, right? Aventurine is what happens when you take an SP positive sustain, mix that with decent sub-DPS capabilities, and then shill the meta he excels in every single patch following his release. Aventurine's sustaining power is incredible, with his death scaling shields for the whole team on his skill as well as his follow-ups. They stack up and refresh the duration, ensuring some really great survivability with little effort. At E1, his ults can even give shields too, but that is quite unnecessary. Another massive pro is that he brings 50% efforts to the whole team, which can help a ton with resisting debuffs. But it also makes units with 50% efforts built on them, like himself for example, resist any debuff. And as said earlier, he has a nice bit of damage in his kit. Not going to be like a Moza or Topaz or March to your face Xiao, but it still stacks up to be quite a decent amount, as he can spam out follow-up attacks out the wazoo. If you use Robin on top, who is stacking a little damage proc on every attack he does, then you get some quite substantial damage out of the dude who is supposed to just sustain you. So if you need a top tier sustain, he is here for you in 2.6. He works in every follow-up team as usually their best choice. He works in Acheron debuff teams with his signature light cone. He works in hyper carry. He doesn't even need follow-up teams, he just isn't as OP outside of them. He works in every Robin team as an extra enabler for her. And he is finally a beast in pure fiction. He can literally help carry runs with the right blessings. Even without those blessings, his follow-ups can ensure those pesky low HP enemies disappear before your carry takes their next turn. But enough shilling, because Lingsha and Huohuo are top tiers alongside him, and you can't go wrong with any of them. Likewise, Fushuan sustains just fine, and so does even Luocha in 2.6. Sustain-wise, he's not necessary. Having him feels amazing for the other benefits. For his light cone, his S1 isn't even needed, it's just very nice to have, especially if you want to pair him with Acheron. So to summarize my takes, this patch I'd say Acheron and Aventurine are the top pickups, with Lune and Rappa being fine pulls if you really like them, and both can work into 2 out of 3 game modes. And maybe Rappa will surprise us. Remember though, 2.7 is coming with some crazy cool units, and kits are getting more awesome by the patch, so I wouldn't be surprised if Sunday's kit is 10 times longer than Arlen's. Spend responsibly though, and remember units will always come back. Anyways, let me know who you're going to pull for in 2.6. Personally, I'm saving for 2.7 and 3.0. Thanks for buying me as YouTube members, thanks for watching, and have a Guoba day.